WOVU-LP, Cleveland.
What are you looking for in radio? Illumination, inspiration, celebration, or revelation? How about fascinating guests, stimulating stories, and thought-provoking solutions? It's time for another look at life with Stephanie Phelps. Here's Stephanie.
Everybody, it's time for another look at life. And today I am talking about life with a woman who is the co-founder and executive vice president of Imagine That Entertainment and Management. She grew up right here in Cleveland. I believe she's a graduate of Glenville High School. I am talking about the amazing Vicki Dansby. Vicki, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for having me. And for the record,
okay, I must have messed up on the high school.
Collinwood Railroader. Baby.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Okay. See, that just shows you how much I know. Sorry, Railroader.
Same neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what, Vicki, I am just so fortunate to call you friend. And I learned some interesting information just a couple of days ago about just an amazing, I guess I want to call it overcoming that you've been through. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about growing up here in Cleveland and going to Collinwood.
Yes. Well, you know what? I had an amazing childhood. I really did. I had a really good childhood. In fact, I had my three sisters, of course, and many friends. I ended up probably with a lot of friends because my sisters were quite a bit older than me. So by the time I got into maybe junior high, which is middle school now, at Patrick Henry, I was an only child because my sisters were in college. Like one was out of college and, the other two were in college at that time. So I really kind of grew up my formative years, my teenage years as an only child. So, I had many friends, some of which are still friends today. Which is, I have a few of them. We've been friends since we were 2 years old, really. So, it was really a stable household. My parents were very much, community oriented. They were, always doing something in the community, volunteering for somebody's campaign or, things like that. That's what they did. And I was very, very, very grown by the time I understood that everybody didn't volunteer. I thought that was what everybody did, right? So I was probably every bit of 40 when I realized, I was talking to somebody and I asked them, okay, so, what do you do? Like, what boards do you serve on? Where do you serve dinner? What do you do? Right. Volunteering. They said, I've never volunteered before. And I was floored because I thought everybody did that. I didn't understand I didn't understand that everybody didn't do that. So yeah, that was amazing. But yeah, so, like I said, I went to Collinwood. Then I went to ICM School of Business, which was Institute of Computer Management for computer programming, which was really cool. That was, what was that? That was an associate degrees program. And after that, I joined the military, which is a little known fact. I joined the Army. I was Private Benjamin herself. I was a mess. And I wasn't there very long. I got through all the training and all of that, but I wasn't there very long. I, got out the military. I lived in a few different places. I got married right after I got out of the military. And he was a military man. So I lived abroad. I lived in Europe for a few years and Georgia and South Carolina. I lived, a military type life. But while I was there, I went back to school. Again, by then it wasn't computer programming anymore. It was information systems. So needless to say, my background, I ended up doing something entirely different. I figured out somewhere along the way that I was a people person.
Mm-hmm.
And for what, to sit in a room and program, well, now code, that's like, for me, that was like torture because I want to talk all day and get out and see people and all of that. And so I made just a 360 career switch. So,
right.
Yeah.
So I would imagine you did go into that field mainly because, at the time, perhaps that was where the money was, or it was said that that's where the money was.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I think part of it was that I've always been like ahead of the curve, maybe. And for me, like there were no women doing that. There were no women in that field, and there certainly wasn't any Black women in that field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I wanted to do, and it interested me. I was very interested in it.
Until you found out, that there weren't many people. Yeah.
It wasn't, but I did attempt to work in that field, right after, was it right after graduation? It might have been. And I found that the white male counterparts got jobs right away. And it was only like 3 females in my class and 3 Black females in my class. And none of us ever worked in that field. We never worked the field. So, yeah, it was a different time. That was like in the late 80s. So it's a lot different then than what it is now. Yeah.
So then following that time, what other area did you find yourself in? And I know it had something to do with entertainment or radio and television, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It did. Well, it was, I did a little bit at schools. I did Case. I worked for Case for a while and a couple of the other schools. And then I found myself at Channel 8, at Fox 8. So I loved that job. That was probably like my favorite job. It was. I was there for, I don't know, maybe 6 years, I think. Might have been about 6 years. Met some amazing people there, did some amazing things. I was in their sales and marketing department. And so my main job was really to assist the sales force, the sales staff. But I also did market research. So like I ran the numbers for ratings purposes. I ran the numbers for rating purposes. I also produced commercials, local commercials from the local end, so like I would draw it out on paper. Well, not draw physically, but, design it what the frames would be. And then the producer would create the filmed version of my typewritten version. It was really cool. I loved it. And then while I was there, the Browns, NFL, the National Football League, recruited me to come and work for them, which was really a trip because I had never, ever gone to an interview and spent the whole time in the interview with him explaining to me why I need to come work for them. Like I never had an opportunity to sell myself. So that was funny. So I did that. It was the Cleveland Browns Trust. It was during the time when Art Modell moved the Browns to Baltimore and NFL put a team of people in Cleveland to market the new team and market the new stadium. And it started off with like 5 of us. And it grew. I were contracted though. It was a contract. We were there until the team was sold. And so once the team was sold, we all disbanded. And that was when Imagine That was born.
Imagine that. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So so the Browns, did they actually steal you from Fox 8 or
Pretty much. Pretty much. When I talked to, my superiors about it, because honestly, it was so funny. I had gone down, I was out in California visiting my family at the time. And so one of the other sales assistants, she called me like several times. So I finally called her back and she's like, this man keeps calling you. His name is Bill Futterer and he said he's the president of the Browns. And I'm like, there is no Browns. What is he talking? I don't know who he is, And so I finally called him and it was probably well over a week after he had called me the first time. But before I called him, I called down to the newsroom to the sports guys asking them if they knew who he was, because I felt like somebody got to be playing a trick on me because I don't even know anybody over there. I don't know why this man is calling me. And they told me it was Danny Coughlin. I never forget it was Danny. And he says, yeah, I know exactly who he is. Call him. So I did. And so that was the beginning of, but however, they did hold my job at Fox 8. They kept it because that particular job, the one I was in at that point, they had created around what I wanted to do. So, I can't remember what my title was at the time. It was like, I can't remember, but because I did a multitude of things, they created something for the areas that I was good at. Which was really,
So you worked for the Browns and for Channel 8 at that time, at the same time, simultaneously. You didn't have to leave. No, you didn't.
I had to leave.
Okay.
I had to leave Channel 8 because it was full time and it was a 3-year contract.
Okay.
So I left Channel 8. However, I left with the understanding that what I was told was to go spread my wings. And if ever I wanted to come back home, it will be there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So before we move on, last thing on this. So you said that being at the television station was probably your favorite job. And so was it hard to make that decision? And, what made you finally decide to go ahead and move forward with the Browns?
Yeah, I think our sales director, when I talked to him about it, I think that was really what made me do it. He was like, well, you're really good at what you do here. And it's only 3 years. Go do that for 3 years, and then come on back home. You never know what can happen within those 3 years. And he was absolutely right. He was absolutely right. Because for me, not that other, I've always developed relationships with people that I've worked with, but at Channel 8, we were more like a family, for real. We were really like a family. And so, everybody knew each other. Everybody was friendly. I mean, from the lady at the front desk to the engineers in the newsroom to the people on the air, the people in sales, marketing, HR. I mean, it was just one big family. Honestly, it's not that big. It's really not there. But it was like that. And then the Browns became my family. And that was an easy transition. But I didn't. So let me just go back a little bit. Okay. Go back a little bit when we come back.
Exactly. Hey, you got that. Okay. Yeah. So we are going to take a quick break and then we will come back with more of Vicki Dansby right here on WOVU 95.9 FM right after this.
Are you a renter in Cleveland and facing eviction? WOVU 95.9 FM, the United Way of Greater Cleveland and the Legal Aid Society wants you to know that you have rights. Certain Cleveland families have the right to an attorney in eviction cases. If you rent your home in Cleveland, have any kids living in that home, and meet low-income guidelines, free help is available. If you think you qualify, contact Legal Aid immediately at 216-687-1900. That's 216-687-1900. 687-1900. You can also apply by dialing 211 on your phone. After a quick screening, you'll know if you can get a lawyer's help for free. Learn more at freeevictionhelp.org. That's freeevictionhelp.org. This message is brought to you by the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, the United Way of Greater Cleveland, and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
Welcome back to another look at life. And again, I am Stephanie Phelps. I'm talking with Vicki Dansby. She is the co-founder and executive vice president of Imagine That, which is an entertainment and event management company. So Vicki, before we went to break, we were talking about how you were working for Fox 8, started working for the Browns doing their marketing. And then after that, what happened?
Well, when our contract was up, it was time to move on. I had gone to California to visit my family, to kind of collect myself because I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know if I wanted to go back to Channel 8 or, what I was going to do. And while I was there, I had gone up to Jim Brown's home for he was having like some type of little get together or whatever. And my sister and I went up there, and the entire time we were up there, he talked to me about how I was doing this for everybody else. It was time for me to do it for myself. And I'm like, well, Jim, that's easy for you to say. You can sign a football and eat for a year, right? Nobody wants my signature. I wouldn't know how to do that. And so his chief of staff at the time, his name is Dwayne Moody. And I think you may have met him before, Stephanie, while he was in Cleveland. But long story short, he was like, well, Moody is good at this and you're good at that, so y'all should do this together. And so Dwayne and I we weren't friends. We knew each other because he was definitely a great gatekeeper for Jim. But so we decided to do it together. And initially we said, well, we're going to try this for a few months and see how it works. And that was 23 years ago. Yeah, that was 23 years ago. And so what we do, we're a full service marketing and PR firm. And we specialize in strategic marketing and PR plans and projects and events for nonprofits, celebrities, and small businesses. However, when we started, we were pretty much all entertainment. We were doing PR for people like Bobby Womack. We did a lot of work with him. If I can go back that far, who else did we? Well, it was entertainment and sports. It was like a combination of those. So a lot of the former Browns players, which I still, we still work with them today. People like Cleo Miller and Hanford and Herman Fontenot and Reggie Langhorne. The crew because they've all been with you at some point in time, right? And the nonprofits, I was sitting on a nonprofit board, which I still sit on today, the United Black Fund. And so, it was natural for us to do some events with them, golf outings, black tie galas. But outside of United Black Fund, we've worked with United Way, Harvest for Hunger, right? Their Market Under Glass. We did the first couple that it was actually Market Under Glass because it used to be called Market to Market at the West Side Market before they moved it to Galleria, and we did the first couple at the Galleria. It's just been a number of people, Black professionals, 100 Black Men, which we're in the midst of their gala right now. That's on December 11th, shameless plug, but it is on December 11th.
That's what you do, right? Okay.
Right, exactly. I couldn't hold that one back. And so Dwayne is in LA. He lives in LA. He was born and raised in LA. And so from the very beginning, we were, located in Cleveland and LA. Somewhere, I guess maybe it was 2005, maybe. We were at an unveiling had commissioned an artist to do a painting of Jim Brown and Lou Rawls that was being sold on QVC. And it just so happened that the same artist had done a portrait of Nelson Mandela. And so his daughter, Zinzi, was there for the unveiling. Long story short, we just became a family like really quick. And it was hard because we didn't have like social media or anything like that. You know, we had some serious long distance phone calls. So at some point, Zinzi called us and asked us if we would do her dad's birthday celebration. And that went into an entirely different spinoff. I mean, it spent us in a totally different direction. We ended up incorporating there in South Africa, and Zinzi, and it was another gentleman there that we worked with, Welcome Masami. So we did a lot of traveling back and forth to South Africa for a long time, actually. And then at one point, I guess maybe 2010 was when we just decided that, yeah, we need to just stay in America because it was just too much. It was hard living out of a suitcase for that long that was a serious jump across the pond. So, yeah. So that's what we do.
Yeah, like you said, 23 years later, you know, and I was going to ask you about Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela because I saw a beautiful photo of you and Winnie Mandela. And, but
I loved her.
Yeah. Talk about that, because I was going to ask you though, you had this encouragement from Jim Brown from the beginning, but as a startup company, was it unusual? Did you just kind of like, you know, get off the ground running and you know, were pretty much successful after that?
We did. We never marketed our company. If you can believe that, as a primarily marketing firm, we never marketed our company. We spent our time marketing everybody else, and it always came word of mouth. Until today, we still really haven't done that. Yeah, we still never really, I mean, our marketing, our business plan, well, I won't say the business plan, I will say our marketing plan just kind of went out the window from the beginning. I mean, our very first client, I hadn't even been home a week when I got a call from Bobby Womack. And I thought somebody was joking me. And he says that Jim said that I could help him market his new gospel CD. And I was like, he said, what? Right. And so that was how it started. And it just went from there. It literally just went from there, just word of mouth. So.
Okay. Well, talk a little bit about your relationship with Nelson and Winnie Mandela. Was it strictly business? Was it something else? Okay.
It definitely wasn't strictly business. We spent a lot of time in South Africa. And while we would stay like in a hotel during the week, on the weekends, we would stay, you know, we were with them, you know, on the weekend. When I say them, I mean primarily Winnie. And Zinzi was with us every step of the way. You know, she was, even when we were staying in a hotel, she was there. You know, she was there most of the time with us, or we were out all day, you know, with her. And we really created a family ship, so much so that on one of those trips, Bambatha, I don't even know how old he is right now, probably 30. But he was like, Mommy, can Auntie Vicki be my godmother? And he was about maybe 10, 8, somewhere in there. And she was like, well, you have to ask her. So he did. And I'm like, I would love to be your godmother, right? And we still communicate today. But it was, we had a really good relationship. You know, like I said, we spent a lot of time. We shared dinners, you know, every weekend we had dinner at somebody's house. You know, it was either, you know, mostly Winnie or Zinzi's house. We spent a lot of time with Madiba as well. And then even after that, we did when the OJs, well, it was really, it was it wasn't the OJs full. It was Gerald. It was really just Gerald and Eddie, I think. They were doing a tour of South Africa when they did their father and son tour. And so we coordinated some things for them to come over and meet Madiba and did a big dinner. It was around Winnie's birthday. So, we did a big birthday celebration for her. And that was years after. That was, a matter of fact, that was Gerald's last trip right before he passed away. That was like right before, like month before he passed away. It was really soon before that. So, we had a really good relationship. It was really heartbreaking, when we lost Madiba, and then to lose, Winnie right behind that. And then, as you know, last year, we lost Zenzi as well. And we also lost our other business partner, Welcome Masami, last year. So lost both of them, just everybody just kind of, yeah. So, but as far as the family is concerned, I still communicate with them about quite a bit, mostly on social media. We do a lot of talking on social media, but I haven't seen him in years. And I think you may remember this, Stephanie, but somewhere in between there, Prince Cesar Lamini, he's the Prince of Swaziland, and that's Zenzi's nephew. And he was in America on a book tour, and I took him through Cleveland, and he had a big, very big event over at Case Western Reserve. And I'm picturing you there. I don't know how that is.
You know what? I knew about it, but I don't think I actually ended up making it, unfortunately. But yeah.
So there's still some family ties.
Yeah, you've done so many things. So, well, before we go to break, you talk about, your clients and imagine that. Where are you today? Have you scaled down? Are your clients as prominent, or what are you doing now? Mm-hmm.
So, right now today, what I'm doing, we're in the middle of 100 Black Men Gala.
Okay, right.
And we're in talks about the Woodmere Music Fest. We did that a couple of years in the village of Woodmere, the Music Fest. So
yes, with Ben Hobart. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. And some other things that I'm not really at liberty to say, but they are circled around All-Star Weekend. But we have scaled back a lot. COVID took us in an entirely different direction. While we are a marketing and PR firm, we're best known for event production. And there were no events. Right. There were no events. But prior to that, at some point, I guess maybe year before last, I came to the conclusion that me personally, needed a plan B.
Okay. That sounds interesting. You know what? I think that is a great place to segue. So we're going to take a break, and then we'll be right back with more of Another Look at Life right after this. See.
Here at WOVU 95.9 FM, our general manager, Jay Williams, is preparing to launch an initiative pertaining to COVID-19 long haulers. It will entail stories about individuals who have survived from the virus, but have endured long-term symptoms. You may think that long haulers are only above age 40, but far more individuals aged between 18 to 40 than you think have experienced long-haul COVID-19. One example is 18-year-old Lily Rose Clifton, who is a freshman at the University of Washington. Despite being active leading up to the pandemic, she is one of roughly 10% of individuals who have suffered from long-haul COVID symptoms. For the past 15 months, Clifton had been homebound with prolonged symptoms, including dizziness, rapid heart rate, and brain fog. The latter she reports taking medication for. She has expressed needing to seek disability accommodations, just like many students with long-term COVID-19 symptoms. But how many will actually receive them? After all, there are many barriers to students receiving assistance. Many students may feel discouraged from asking professionals out of fear of not being believed and therefore rejected. Many students may feel that science will fail them, leading to a misdiagnosis and therefore not being eligible. It is already hard enough for students to function daily, but for those with long-term COVID symptoms, fighting barriers to accommodations will only increase the difficulty both in and out of the classroom. We at WOVU 95.9 FM want to let you know about our initiative to tell the stories of COVID-19 long haulers, like Lily Rose Clifton, because it is imperative that every student who needs assistance is treated fairly and has accessibility to the resources they need. You can also help. If you have a student or know a student who has had prolonged COVID symptoms and think that they may need accommodations, encourage them to do so without hesitation. Clifton's case represents just one of many with long-haul COVID-19, but this information is not just for students. Here at WOVU 95.9 FM, we want to hear from you. If you have had long-haul COVID-19, then we are looking for you. Tune in daily because we will soon provide a phone number for you to call and share your story with us. This is WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
Welcome back to Another Look at Life. I'm Stephanie Phelps, and I am continuing my conversation with Vicki Dansby. She is the co-founder and executive director of Imagine That Entertainment and Event Management. Before we went to break, we were talking about where the company is now, and I'm talking about Imagine That. So let's start from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we are still Imagine That. We're still doing our thing, but we have scaled back quite a bit. 2020 dealt us, a blow in terms of what we do. People just weren't having events. Obviously, we weren't even out of the house. So a plan B I knew was necessary before that. So I kind of dibbled and dabbled in my plan B just a little bit. But as fate would have it, at the very beginning of 2020, January to be exact, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And to say it rocked my world is an understatement. It really did. It just kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't get breast exams. I had just had a mammogram, like in November. I just had a mammogram in November. And I just woke up one day with this huge lump on my breast. Mm-hmm. It wasn't there the day before. And so as I later learned that the strand that it is not, it's pretty rare, is triple negative, and it's very hard to treat. And it had, at the time that they found it, the doctors said that it had likely been in my body for well over a year. It just had not presented itself yet. And by the time it did, it was in most of my body. It was in most of my body. Literally from my neck to my knees, everywhere in between. So we started within, it was less than a week. In less than a week, I had a Metaport inserted in my chest. And I was on intensive chemo and immunotherapy, both of them together instead of one or the other. And that was every week, every week. And I thought I was going to be able to work through it initially, but I didn't understand what chemo really does to your body. I didn't really get that. So as again, fate would have, we were in the midst of COVID. And so I didn't have to disappear because everybody had disappeared, right? And I didn't have to stop working because there was no work, for me to do at that point. But what my plan B was, I kind of stumbled across some natural supplements, right? And I wasn't really, it was one that I was taking because it was right at the beginning of COVID is Immunex is what it's called, and it boosts your immune system, and it's all natural. So I was really just kind of taking that. But I opted, my very best friend is an MD. She's an MD. She lives in Houston right now. but she's not practicing traditional medicine anymore. She's a naturopath. Right. And so she introduced me to some non-traditional treatments, which at first, my first oncologist was like, no, I just want you to do this and that's it. And I mean, he didn't even want me to take supplements at all. He didn't want me to do anything but chemo and immunotherapy and anything that they gave me. But Stephanie, I dropped 60 pounds in probably 40 days. Right? It was tearing me down completely. So I had to do something. And so the main treatment, so it was a lot of things that she introduced me to that I couldn't do because they flush the toxins out of your system. And my treatment is toxins. Mm. So it would have been pointless for me to get, chemo and immunotherapy if I was taking something to flush it out of my system. But one that I was able to do was ozone therapy. And so what ozone therapy is it basically fills your body with oxygen. And cancer cells don't live well in oxygenated areas in that type of environment. And when I researched here to see where I could get these treatments at, I found a couple places, but they were very expensive. They were very expensive. And she and her, naturopath friends, they were recommending that I do 5 treatments a week. I couldn't afford that. It was I couldn't afford that. So we bought all the equipment. It was, it was a few $1,000s, but, a few $1,000s with those treatments wouldn't have gotten me very far. I wouldn't have been able to take them very long. So we bought all the equipment and transformed my office into an ozone clinic. And that really, truly made the difference. So I did both, the traditional and non-traditional. And within a couple months after I started doing the ozone therapy, my body scans were like the difference between night and day. There were areas that cancer was present where they could see it and it wasn't there anymore. There were areas that was so small, they didn't know if it was actually cancer cells or scar tissue. And so the ozone therapy, in addition to my supplements, so let me just go back just a little bit. The supplements are from a company, Secret. And Secret is known for Dead Sea minerals. So they were known for skincare, with using minerals from the Dead Sea, mud. You probably saw them in the mall at, years ago. They would stop you and put something in your hands and your hands be really soft, or buff your nails out and they're shiny. And then they want your firstborn child to pay for it, right? Well, they changed their business model from, being at the kiosk in the malls. And that was, I don't even know how many millions of dollars they made doing, but it was several $1 million that they made doing that in the malls across America. And they're from Israel. And they import everything here. So back in 2010, they also went into the clean nutrition business. And that was really what piqued my interest. And when it was introduced to me, I was like, well, let me check it out. And when I checked it out, I found that it really was clean. It's like non-GMO, it's no sugar, no dairy, soy-free, no artificial flavors. Everything is all natural. So I got on a regimen of those as well. So between my supplements, my ozone therapy, my chemotherapy, and my immunotherapy, right? So I did all of this for about a year. And then I was released, I was released from chemo, and they released me from chemo because the last set of scans I'd had prior to chemo, it was the doctors were like, I don't really understand what happened here because this is not the way this works. This is not what we usually see. because it was everywhere. And so there's places, like I said, that like in my neck, in my abdomen, that they don't even see it anymore. Like it's not even registering anymore,
Wow.
So once I got off the chemo, and this was every week. So I did this every week over at Taussig. Love them. They're so sweet. I hit the door, even from the lady that check you in and take your temperature. Hey, Vicki, how you doing today? From there to the lab to, I love those people there.
And you said, where is this? You said
Taussig. It's Taussig.
Oh, the Taussig Cancer. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's affiliated with Cleveland Clinic. Oh, wow.
It is.
Okay.
It is. It is. And so it was just really amazing how that happened. They took me off of the chemo, but kept me on immunotherapy. And instead of going every week, and so immunotherapy, so I'd never heard of that before. So I didn't know what it was. So you probably don't either. And you wouldn't really have a reason to. But what immunotherapy does is that it trains your immune system to look for cancer cells and bring it to your immune system to kill it. That's what it does.
So the cancer cells kill other cells, or say it again. So what is this immunotherapy? Say it again.
Okay, so let me go back a little bit. Chemotherapy kills everything. So it kills your cells, your bad cells, your cancer cells. It just breaks you totally down.
Exactly.
Right? And it totally break you down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what immunotherapy does is that it only targets cancer cells. And it draws them into your immune system. And your immune system is trained to kill them.
Okay.
And it's a newer, I don't know how long it's been around, but it is a newer treatment. It's not like chemotherapy that's been around for years. And I'm sure, chemo has, changed a lot through the years. Because I don't think years ago you could even be on chemo as long as I was.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's been an amazing ride. So right now I'm still in immunotherapy, but instead of every week, I go every other week. I still do my ozone therapy, and I live. And I've even added a few more. I've added a few more to the mix now, including, I pretty much take our entire line. And so when I say ours, before I was just a customer trying it out. But after I tried the supplements and I tried the skincare, like I was hooked. And I felt like I really need to share this with people. And as God would have it, it was my plan B. And so during the time over COVID, when we didn't really have, any events, we didn't really have clients. We had like maybe 2 clients on retainer, but, we didn't really have, the steady work that we had. It totally sustained my income.
Wow.
It did. And because I didn't understand that it's like one of the top industries in the world is wellness, it's wellness and skincare. People want to look beautiful and people want to feel great.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we've got, I'm almost speechless here. So, thank you so much for sharing, your story, your journey. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to a break. I got a million, billion, zillion questions in my head, but we're going to do that. We're going to go to a break first, and then we'll come back on the other side with more of another look at life right after this.
Are you a renter in Cleveland and facing eviction? WOVU 95.9 FM, the United Way of Greater Cleveland, and the Legal Aid Society wants you to know that you have rights. Certain Cleveland families have the right to an attorney in eviction cases. If you rent your home in Cleveland, have any kids living in that home, and meet low-income guidelines, free help is available. If you think you qualify, contact Legal Aid immediately at 216-687-1900. That's 216-687-1900. You can also apply by dialing 211 on your phone. After a quick screening, you'll know if you can get a lawyer's help for free. Learn more at freeevictionhelp.org. That's freeevictionhelp.org. This message is brought to you by the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, the United Way of Greater Cleveland, and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
Welcome back to another look at life, and we are winding it down with the incredible Vicki Dansby. Now I want to call her because after the last story that you told us about your journey through chemotherapy and a whole lot more upon being diagnosed with breast cancer, Vicki, I just think you are just one of the most incredible people I know. I mean, but you know, we were talking when we were on the break and how you became victorious over this thing that they call cancer. And it's not always in the cards for everybody to have a friend who's a doctor and to tell them about something called ozone therapy. Having said all of that, if someone finds themselves in a similar situation, what would you say to them to make sure that they get the best care possible?
Well, the first thing I would say is you are responsible for your care. You know, that's your responsibility. And so part of your responsibility is to make sure that you ask questions. So say, for example, you might have a lab test, right, that came back off and they wanted to put you on a drug to correct it. Well, you need to research that drug, research it. Find out, if it makes sense for you to be on it. And don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to say no. So you have to encourage information from your doctors. A lot of people just go to the doctor and they listen to what they say and they say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and just do what they say. I never did that. I mean, I ask a million questions. And they need to give me a good answer. They need to give me an answer that makes sense. So, you just really need to take responsibility for your care. That would be the first thing I would say. The next will be is research. Because understand that medical doctors are doing what they're trained to do. All they know really is the science behind it, right? They're practicing medicine. They don't really know. I mean, they're practicing medicine. That's what they do. And so most of them will not look kindly upon things that are not part of big pharma. Right? I'm not going to get too deep into that. That's a whole other conversation. But I will say that there are some natural remedies for a lot of things that goes on in our body, including cancer, that you won't hear from your doctor. So you need to do your own research.
Okay.
But on top of all of that, I remember one of the first conversations I had with my then oncologist. He's no longer my oncologist. We just didn't, we didn't work out.
Didn't mesh.
But,
okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. we didn't work out. But one of the first conversations I had with him, he went on to tell me, what his prognosis was. And I stopped him. And I told him I wasn't interested in what his prognosis was. That, as he pointed out, that it was a very rare strand. The way it presented itself, everything about it was rare. And the fact that it had just really just taken hold to so many parts of my body was also rare. So with that being understood, I've always been one of those people that one in a million things happen to. I've always been that one. So as far as what you know has nothing to do with me. It doesn't, because you don't know me, right? You don't know who I am. You don't know what I know. You don't know who I know. And clearly you don't know who my father is. And he was like, well, okay. Well, mindset is 3/4 of the battle. I told him very clearly, I see myself on the other side of healing. I saw that in that day. That day, I saw myself on the other side of healing. I never went through the pity party, the why is me. I never went through, I'm afraid of what's going to happen. It was like, okay, what do I need to do to live? Because that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Because this couldn't be it. Because I don't feel like I've fulfilled my purpose. I don't know what my purpose is, but whatever it is, I don't think this was it. I just didn't feel that. I never felt that. And the only thing that really broke me down was the thought of it being genetic. There was no family history of breast cancer in my family. And I understand it has to start somewhere. But I have nieces. I have great nieces. And I couldn't wrap my head around them having to face that. And that was literally because I felt like all along I was going to be okay. I really did. I never lost faith. I never lost hope. I mean, even on days, hell, it was months that I couldn't walk from the bedroom to the kitchen. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'll get it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Or I'll get there tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And make sure you surround yourself with a support system. I had an absolutely amazing support system. And as you pointed out, Stephanie, you didn't know. 99% of the people I know did not know.
Exactly. And I want to just stop you just for 1 minute, because, again, I am so grateful and thankful for you to share this journey here, because you said you really weren't expecting this and you thought, but there was something in your spirit that said you needed to tell your story or give your testimony.
Yeah, I did, because I came to the conclusion, because nobody knew, to me, I was living a lie. I was living a lie to me. And I needed to liberate myself from that. I needed to take that off my spirit. I needed to just get rid of that extra heavy baggage. I needed to get rid of that. But the most important thing that I understood was that God gave me this testimony for a reason. He doesn't give you testimonies to keep to yourself, right? You have an amazing testimony. You need to testify. You need to testify to his goodness, because I didn't have to be here, but he kept me, right? And so I said, well, you never know who's listening. You never know who you can help. Maybe you're offering somebody else hope. And I'm not even talking about cancer right now. I'm talking about the goodness of God in us. And I swear I'm not going to preach. I'm not going to do that. As I had spoken during the break, I've never been very religious, but I've always been very spiritual. It was always very clear to me, who my God was. That I've known all my life that I was his child. We've had conversations since I could talk. So, however, just in life, period, you never know who's living through what, who might need some inspiration, who might need some hope. You don't know what you may say that may resonate with somebody else. I may be talking to somebody may have, read my Facebook post, which was how we got here. And they never knew that there were other options other than what they were being told at the doctor. So I made the post for real because I wanted to start a Facebook page, which is on Facebook, Abundant Lifestyle.
Abundant Lifestyles. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what is your intention
Lifestyle.
for the Abundant Lifestyles?
Right. So my intentions with Abundant Lifestyles is for us all to learn to live more abundantly. To start with, self-love, self-care, inspirational things. This page will be positive posts only, positive thoughts only. You just can't let any negativity seep into your spirit. You can't, and so that's what this page is for. We'll talk about, some wellness hacks, such as, my supplements, for example. I know some people who does sea moss. I know some people, like I was just talking to somebody the other day that was saying their blood pressure was up, and I sent them a link to magnesium that I got off Amazon, because it helps your blood pressure. Had I not gone through that, I wouldn't have known that because I never had high blood pressure. So I would have never known that. Right. So just some things that I learned along the way, how to let your inner beauty shine. Some help with your outer beauty so that you feel beautiful, you look beautiful, just how to get to your happy place. And what you don't know, Stephanie, I don't think we had this conversation. My husband and I sold our home. We sold our home and moved to the country. And we've been out here since April.
Okay.
And we came out here for peace, for a slower pace, fresh air. Our community was dropped in the middle of farmlands. So it's farms in every direction. It's Amish farms. I could literally walk to an Amish farm, right? So that we could get fresh vegetables and fresh meats and fresh poultry, right? Where there's not all the smog and pollution from traffic. There's no 5G towers. I'm surprised my internet has lasted this long because we got one service out here and it ain't good. Right? And so my spirit is so free.
Wow.
It is so free. I just feel like I've been born again. I've just had a new lease on life. Once you face, we know we all came here to die. We know that's, the end result. But once you face that, you see life differently and you live it more abundantly.
Well, Vicki, again, I am so grateful. And you told me you're in the country. Maybe you'll tell me a little bit more. Maybe I'll invite myself out there.
I'll invite you.
It sounds wonderful. And if people want to connect with you, they should do so by going to the Abundant Lifestyles page, the Facebook page. Is that right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's Abundant Lifestyles. My picture is the profile picture. Mm-hmm. And it's just really, I have a lot of friends who are into self-love, self-care, wellness, just easy living, and we inspire each other. And so that'll be our platform to do that.
Okay, Abundant Lifestyles, everybody, on Facebook, Vicki Dansby or Vicki Lucas Dansby. So we got to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for joining us and invite you to come on back next week when we take another look at life.
Thanks for listening. Your voice matters. Inspire us with suggestions for upcoming topics and guests. Share your personal story, what's working in your life and what's not. Send email to anotherLOOK with Stephanie Phelps at gmail.com. You can also find us online at anotherLOOKwithStephaniePhelps.wordpress.com. We're very social. Like us on Facebook at Simply Another Look with Stephanie. Follow us on Instagram at Stephanie Phelps and on Twitter at Stephanie Phelps Living in Destiny.